Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional. Like, so professional. Here we go. Welcome to the Live Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele VanDusen and June Colson, a couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, it's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball, with June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. Now they have their catchy tune. If Michele jumps high, she's eye to eye with June. Let's be clear, June's tall and Michelle's real short. And now it's time to start Live Support.
The Live Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Welcome to the award-winning Laugh Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Colson, here with Michele with the 1L, Trisha's sister, Ronna Colson, Corey's friend. Do not call me Shelly. Michele VanDusen. I wonder what that sounds like when I say it that fast for people who are like me that listen to all podcasts on ×2. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, our first episode, as fast as you had that going. If there are people who listen to the podcast, I can't imagine what that sounded like. Do you listen to podcasts, Michele, on like the regular speed, or do you listen to it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you listen? Michelle's got her kazoo.
That's right, because we talked about the kazoo yesterday. I listened to it 2 times, 2.5 times, whatever it is, the quicker. But I did find out that I miss some things if I listen to it too fast, because then I'm like, wait, what? And then I got to back up, and I'm like, but I don't know how far I was supposed to go. So
never for me. I can't deal with like slow talking or slow stories or slow walking. So if it's going too slow, I miss more at a slow speed than I do at a fast speed, because when it's going fast, then I'm tuning in and I'm like really listening, and that, I do better with that. Which is how it feels like this day has gone for me. Like it feels like everything is in hyper speed right now. Just go, go, go. So where are you at? What speed are you on right now, Michele?
Let's see. Today. Well, I haven't eaten anything yet today, but I had my vitamins, so I've got my B12. So I'm like, what speed? So that's a good. I don't know. I'm chilled today. Like the things that I thought I was going to be doing this morning didn't happen, and then like it's all these little. So I'm chilled. I'm good. I'm excited for today's guest. Like I'm super excited. I really love it when we have guests on, because it just, I don't know, it just makes the episode to me seem really exciting, especially when I have to go back later on and find those bits that we pull out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I don't remember them saying that. Oh, well, that was good. How did I miss that? It's like listening in real time and then going back and re-listening to it. I pick up more information the second, the third, the fourth time.
Yeah.
I think that's why I listen to it, 2 times fast, so I can, catch it all several times. I don't like fast or slow talkers either.
Yeah.
I think that's why I interrupt people, because I'm trying to get to the end of the thing. Like, oh, was it this? Oh, was it that? Oh, was it this?
But also we're surrounded by some of the best storytellers in the world. And so, you know what I mean? So when you're like listening to a story with, somebody who's not a good storyteller, but also I have issues with word economy sometimes when I'm telling a story for the first time. So that's okay. That's all right. We do have the bar pretty high, because we honestly have some of the best storytelling friends on the planet. So that can be difficult.
I just remembered something. I need to make a disclaimer, because I talked a few, for a couple episodes in a row about watching the history of comedy, off on HBO or whatever.
Michele, people are grown-ups. We have
Yeah, no.
podcast.
What I'm saying is, some of the language is bad, but then there was like, oh, nudity. So what I'm saying is, I'm not recommending that anyone just goes, oh, she recommended it. No, no, no. I was saying I was learning some things, and then some stuff I didn't want to learn. That's all.
I
That's
know.
all.
I know yesterday you talked about this and you were very concerned as if like you were passing out gift certificates for people to get a discount on watching whatever this television program or whatever.
No,
We were not pushing it or wearing a t-shirt that said
no.
you have to watch it. It's something interesting you were watching and you were
Yeah,
not, promoting a particular program, but you had
no,
found some interesting, but I get that. Like I
no,
don't want
no.
if we're talking about something, then somebody who's listening to it may be like, oh, they recommended it. And then be like, wait, what? Because sometimes
Yeah,
we may be watching a series and it takes a turn. And it's like, never mind, don't watch that, but
yeah.
it's grown-ups. People can see what content a program is and make the decision of whether or not they want to watch that or not.
Well, it didn't. I read the little thing at the top that it was just going to be the language, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can handle them talking about stuff. That's not big. But then it was like, oh, that's a visual. Nope, nope, nope.
Yeah.
I, yeah, I don't like
Well,
the.
and you're also talking about something that's the history of something. And so,
Yeah,
the history of something is not necessarily scrubbed to be perfectly clean. And especially if it has something to do with comedy and you're looking at historical figures in comedy. That's why what we do is so unique because we are in a very special lane of
yeah,
clean comedy, what we do. So you're fine. You're fine. Don't worry
yeah.
about it.
Okay,
But speaking of special lanes, oh my gosh, today we are about to drive down a lane that is going to be so helpful. I don't think just for our comedic friends, I think
mhm,
for
yeah,
anybody and everybody, because our guest today is it's just a person who is knowledgeable in finances and taxes and all of these things that I think we talked about this last episode. Like for us, becoming a
mhm,
comedian, we're creative people. And I talked about my friend who was a doctor. And when he became a doctor, he didn't have a business degree. And the business end of it was shell shock for him.
yeah.
And as comedians, we're not necessarily financially minded. We're not educated in finances, taxes, things of that nature. And we recently had a guest on last season who's a stand-up comedian whose
Mhm.
wife is a rock star in this area. So Michele, tell us who is on the show today.
Okay, since you already did half the intro. No, okay.
Not.
So our guest today is an innovator. She's a creative, like an actor, a model, a director, but she also
Mhm.
loves the business side of the creative. Our guest is a co-CEO of People Rich Comedy. She's
Yeah.
a tax strategist and financial coach. She teaches entrepreneurs about the financial side of their business. So let's welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast, the money coach, Kimberly Janelle. Woo, woo, woo,
Yay!
Hello.
woo, woo, woo. Oh, sorry.
Well, welcome, coach.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. I'm so excited to be here. I thought about it at the very last minute. I got some little hand clappers. I started to get it and clap for myself when you said my
Yes. You know what? Give yourself the applause. The last
yes,
episode we talked about giving ourselves flowers.
yeah,
Give yourself
yes,
the flowers. So
yes.
Kimberly, we're so excited to have you on the podcast. So recently we got to glean from your wisdom at a comedy conference outside of Atlanta in June.
Yes.
And man, you just you brought so much information and so many things that like I hadn't thought about. I mean, I just saw the comedian soaking up everything that you were sharing. And we had your husband Donald last season on the
Yes.
podcast, and immediately we were like, but we need you too, because you are not just financially minded, but you also are very wise about the comedy industry because you're a part of that industry. It's
Yeah.
not something separate, or you're seeing really, I'd say you see it from the other side of the mic, but you're really part of it. And before we go, I say you see it from the other side of the mic, but I noticed not long ago you saw it from our side of the mic. So Michele,
Yeah.
don't let me forget to circle back around. But today, Kimberly, I'm just going to open the floor to you and let you kind of share with us what you've seen as far as comedians and the things that you think we should know as far as taxes in the business world. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to share all of my nerdy genius. I'm appreciative of the duality of Kimberly. I'm absolutely a creative. I've been a print and commercial model for this is 11 years this year. So I understand it from being on set and being in front of the camera, very similar to being behind the mic, right? But I also had a knack for numbers. And so I always been good with numbers. I went and got an accounting degree because I thought tax and accounting was the same thing. And I realized it is vastly different. They're like cousins, pretty similar, but very different. It just happened. So I don't know. It kind of snuck up on me. Me falling in love with tax and being on set one day. And I heard people talk about, I had to buy these, I had to buy tennis shoes for set today. I had to buy a wardrobe for set today. I came up early and spent the night last night so that I wouldn't be late, getting a set. And the whole time I'm hearing write off. So I'm like, hey, you can write that off. Hey, did you keep your receipt? Hey, did you? And I started noticing that people were clueless. They were like, what? And I'm like, wait a minute. You don't realize that you're throwing money away by like not keeping track of this stuff. And the shock on their faces when I say it is legal for you not to pay an exorbitant amount of taxes. You have that right as a contractor, an independent artist, a comedian, an entertainer. You have that right to deduct the amount that you spend to run your business before you pay tax. And once I realized it was kind of a foreign concept to people, then that I kind of ended up in this lane where all the creatives, and I'm surrounded by creatives because I'm a creative myself. So I got musicians and I got dancers and actors and makeup artists like, wait a minute, okay, wait, slow this thing down for me, Kim. Like, I can do what now? And so yeah, that was the beginning of my journey of helping entrepreneurs understand how to look at themselves, number one, as a business. You are a business. You don't have to have an LLC. You don't have to register anything with the state. The moment that you say, I think I want to try this acting thing out, or I think I want to be a comedian, or I think I want to take some photos and make money from it, the IRS considers you a business, which opens up a whole world of opportunity for you as far as the tax world is concerned. And that was really important when I met my husband. He, he's been doing this for over 20 years. And I remember having a conversation with him one time about his taxes. He's like, yeah, but I get a lot of write-offs and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Dude, where's your receipts? And he was like, I say, yeah, we not right now. We'll have that conversation, but not right now. So even teaching him how to be mindful of the money side of the business. We have to use this account when we buy things. We have to get receipts when we get gas. We have to, when we take people out for dinner, we got to keep that receipt, things we have to write on it. And so it's taken me a few months to kind of get him in that routine. But it's super important. It's super important.
When I heard you talk about the receipts at the conference, I knew like, I had a general understanding tax wise that, when I drive to Nashville and I meet with Christy Conder, the comedian in Nashville, and we are writing together and we're working on the, plans with Leslie Robb for the Epic Comedy Tour and those type of things. Like, I know I'm mindful of like, well, this is probably a tax write-off, right?
Yeah.
But what I didn't get was how the documentation should go. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh, I saved the receipt from where we went to dinner and we were discussing the tour, and I, saved my gas receipt or whatever. But I didn't realize on that receipt when you had said, well, you have to write who you talk to and what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It can't just be a dinner receipt. I was like, wait, what? So I have these receipts. But, and the other thing was when you said, which I experienced this as a business owner. I had a small business for 13 years, but my husband generally handled those things. When they came and audited our business, they weren't asking us about today. It was 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
And, 7 years ago or whatever that they wanted that information from. And the reality was I remember you saying, they're going to come after something from 4 years ago. And are you going to go, oh yeah, I talked to Michele VanDusen. We were doing podcast planning, like, no, you're probably not going to remember that. Right.
Yeah. I have a hard time remembering what I did yesterday versus, 4 years ago. And because the way that the industry is, you pivot and you change. So you may be doing this podcast, you and Michele may be doing this podcast now, but your comedy career may shift in a way where you guys start doing the podcast like you actually go to a studio and you're recording them on set somewhere, or you start producing major comedy tours, and so everything shifts in your business. And if you solely depend on just remembering, then you'll find yourself in a real pickle, when the IRS makes time to come down your street and you having to validate all of that. So the challenge though is with most creative businesses, and specifically with comedians, most comedians that I know did not go to college to be a comedian. Right. There was no there's no part of the curriculum. And let me just think creatives as a whole, right? I have a daughter who's a cosmetologist, licensed cosmetologist at 19. She went and took all the classes. She learned about the chemicals. She went and did all her hours on the floor. She learned cutting and all those techniques. Not one session was there about the business of being a cosmetologist, right? When you spend money and do you register with the state or not, and getting a separate bank account and all of the things in regards to the business of being a cosmetologist. The same is true with comedians. No matter how you learned, no matter how you stumbled upon your funny, no matter what process you went through to perfect your skill, or be better in your craft, there is usually nothing there that says, let me teach you about the business of comedy, right? And so I'm really, this is something that I've been praying about even since the conference. How do I position my knowledge in a way that's beneficial to the industry that I'm in? And I'm deep in the comedy stuff now, right? Not just with my husband, but also with our company that we started and celebrated a year in business this past weekend. How can I help the comedians who are connected to us, who come to us, who are within earshot of me? How can I help them learn this part of the business? And so I'm leaning into that.
I think that's awesome. Go ahead, Michele.
So my question is, so if you are going to be writing on your receipts and things like that, if the tax guy's going to come, and look at something, do they look back 10 years, or is it 7 years, or like how far back are they allowed to go?
Good question. So here's what's funny. If they owe you a refund, you have 3 years to claim it. Okay. But if you owe them money, they have 7 years. They can go back 7 years to get money from you if you owe them.
Wow.
In some cases, if there are situations that look like you may have abused the system, there's fraud, things of that nature, they can go back 10 years and look. but usually it's 7 years. The rule of thumb is 7 years. If they go back 10 years, it's usually because they think there's a big money bag back there, or in your case. And so they're trying to go back as far as the statute states that they can, and it's 10 years.
Okay, so follow-up question.
Yep.
What would be something that you like wrote on your receipt or that kind of thing that would trigger them to go, oh, we need to look at this? Like, is there something specific that they're looking for to hit it? And how do we avoid that kind of stuff? Like, what do we need to do to make sure that we've got it all in?
Great question. So it's usually not what you write on the receipts. What usually triggers the IRS is a couple of things. Your income and expenses are reported on a Schedule C. It's just an attachment. It's a form that's attached to your 1040 tax return. So I tell people, when you have a business, whether you've registered it with the state or not, this business is like your kid. It is always and forever connected to your tax return until you decide you're not doing it anymore. Okay. It's not a separate return. It's all on the Schedule C. And there are a couple things on the Schedule C that are red flags and automatic audit triggers for the IRS. One is even numbers. If you put that I spent $500 in gas, or let me say it this way: if you spend $500 in meals, you probably are lying, because meals are $29.61, and you add a $10 tip. Meals are $89.34. Now, somebody like me, I am a stickler for even numbers, so I will sit and figure out for my meals, if it's $29.34, I'll make it zero at the end, and then figure out what the rest of my tip is. So my meals a lot of times are even numbers: $79, $69, $47. But I have a receipt to show that the meal was $39.17 plus a $7.49 tip. So if you can substantiate, that's the big word in the tax world, substantiation. Can you prove it? Then you're okay. But that definitely will be a red flag. If it's an even number, it's a red flag. If you have more expenses than you do income in the business, and you have no other income, that's a major flag. I see people all the time who are more concerned about carrying a loss in their business than they are being mindful of what the loss will do to the IRS. They have a rule that within 5 years of business, you need to turn a profit 2 of the 5 years. You can carry a loss 3 years, and it doesn't have to be in order. You can have a loss the first year because you're just getting started, and you can turn a profit even if it's $20 the second year. But then you could be heavy into investing in the business and end up having a loss the third year, right? But if you constantly have loss after loss after loss after loss after loss, then the IRS will start thinking, I think this is a hobby and you just trying to manipulate the system. So that's a red flag. Not having receipts. Because a lot of times, here's what I found out in my research. The IRS gets a this is crazy, okay? For every dollar that they spend, they make a $30 return on that investment. It's like 3,000%.
Wow.
300% return on their investment. And so back in the 70s, 80s, when they had revenue agents that would come to the door, in my mind, and in a lot of people's minds, when you hear that the IRS is coming to check on you, you think of a man in a suit with a briefcase coming to your house or to your business and like, I need to check your books. Well, they don't do that. What they do instead is they mail out these notices. It's a CP 2000. And the notice says, "Hey, Michele, we were looking at your 2022 tax return, and we think your numbers might be off. Can you please send us proof of your 3 largest expenses that you claimed within 30 days?" Well, what they realized is that people do not open their mail. They are afraid when an envelope with the IRS shows up in their mailbox. So they don't open it, or if they do, it's after the 30 days. And what typically has happened is that the IRS is wrong, but because you didn't prove it, now the bill is stuck.
Oh, man.
Absolutely. So that's how they make $30 for every dollar that they spend, because people don't open their mail. They don't. Sometimes it's an easy fix, but they don't do it within the 30 days. So then on day 31, you're not arguing to prove that you don't owe the bill anymore. Now you're arguing to prove, arguing to bargain with the bill. Can you make some adjustment? Can we make some arrangements? Can we negotiate? Whereas had you sent the information they were asking for in the first 30 days, the bill probably wouldn't even exist. Yeah.
It makes me so anxious. Like my heart just, because I had such a bad experience with the IRS. And I remember that we were trying to figure out something tax wise for a small business. My husband Googled or called or asked a question, and then somebody was like, "Oh no, you should have never called that number. That'll flag. They'll be called." And sure enough, here they came. And the only thing that they could, we ended up with an agent setting in our business at a desk every single day. You talk about like testing the Jesus in you when this person is sitting there. Literally, you feel like this person is here to try to harm me. And it was the craziest thing, Kimberly, because I had retail stores in multiple locations, but all within the same state. And one of the state bills that I paid all my taxes that were due, but they said because I paid it here in this county and a portion of that was due in Louisville in the county there, it was marked as if we never paid it.
Wow.
So we paid what we owed, but because the check was written and the IRS cashed it, they had no problem taking my money.
Oh, never.
But then they came after us saying, yeah, but that was the wrong place and you owed it to such and such county and you paid it in this county. So they, as Michele was talking about, we were able to ask for 4 years of grace on that for them to go back or whatever, but they were still able to go back 7 years on us and make us pay the taxes we already paid again for 3 years of that. So when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I think you're right, like what you said, if like the envelope comes and it's so anxiety inducing that it's like out of sight, out of mind, put our heads in the sand. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because when you do, it compounds. I mean, it makes the problem, one that may not have been a problem if you address it, become a real problem.
Yes.
You know, it can be. So I think that's what's one. I think it's the education part of it, and the other part is it is scary. You know, it is an area that we're not familiar with, and I think that taxes and things like that have been painted as this big bad, thing. And I love that you're showing the end of it, that it's also this benefit if you are wise, if you take it seriously, if you educate yourself, then it's something that can actually be a good thing for you if you do it right. So as a comedian, so let's say, okay, I remember starting out and I'm like, I don't know what to do here, because it was like, comedy is such a hard business to make a business, to really get to go full time. I mean, that's the goal for comics, is to be able to go full time. So most of the comedians that we know, they're dual occupation. It is kind of this vibe of like, it's a side gig thing. And then when people are like, well, did you're using your social security numbers, your tax ID. And then when do you decide, well, I'm going to go ahead and create this, business. So if we're talking to a comedian that's just not taking that step, what would you suggest as somebody jumps off and they're really trying to pursue this thing as a full-time gig? Where should we begin?
That's a good question. I think you're right. A lot of people are like, I think I'd be good at this. I just kind of want to see, right? The challenge with that is they're in the trial process for longer than they even think about. I don't know when, and maybe you can think of this too, June, and Michele, you can probably say this too. From the time that you started comedy, how long did it take you before you thought, okay, I think I kind of got something going here? How long would you say it was for you?
Oh gosh, it's just been within the last probably 2 years for me. Like, I mean, so 7 years in before it was like, okay. A part of it is like you feel like a fraud, like as far as imposter syndrome. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna act like this is a business thing, and then you're like, I don't even know if I got a show 2 months from now. So we get in that mindset as well. What about you, Michele? How long before you were like, I'm actually a comedian, I'm doing this?
Oh, I guess I'm still striving for that. So
Yeah.
That's okay too.
when my son, actually it was I don't know how many years ago, but it was when my son said, well, you're a comedian, mom. And so everyone's always surprised when I say, well, my mom's a comedian. I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's when the shift happened, was then. So
Yeah.
Someone
that
else acknowledging you.
yeah, I'm so horrible at business. I'm like, am I yet? I don't know.
Yeah. I think so. I think that's the challenge with comedians, is that in their mind they still struggle with kind of like, I've made it, like this is really a thing, because you're always striving for this goal in your mind, whether it's being able to do it full time, whether it's booking a major tour, whether it's being able to say, I've booked cruise ships or whatever. But I think for any aspiring comedian, whether you're just starting out, it's something that you're thinking about, or you've been in this thing a year or so, and you're just coming up on this whole, wait a minute, I can save some money, or I can write stuff off. There's a couple things that I will absolutely say. Number one, the key thing with the receipts, because you and I both know, you can get a receipt from somewhere and you can feel proud about keeping the receipt, but if you don't have a system to incorporate that receipt in, it's going to fade, it's going to smear, it's going to smudge, it's going to wrinkle, you can't read it. And so I would say the first thing is to create some type of system to put the receipt in the cloud. I started out teaching people how to use Dropbox. So here's a journey that I did with Donald. We created a Dropbox simply for his comedy. And in that Dropbox, there was a folder for his press kit with his headshots and his resume and his bio, because I was sick of him just picking random pictures.
Yes.
People to be on the flyers, right? But then another folder we created in there was for receipts. Now, for somebody that's just starting out, you might have a gig once a month. You might do something every now and then. You're not running every weekend. You don't have 2 or 3 shows every weekend. So creating a folder in Dropbox where you can write on the receipt who you were with and what you talked about. And it doesn't have to be anything in great detail. That example that you gave, June, about you going and writing, having those writing sessions, you literally can put first initial, last name, or first name, last initial. And then underneath that, writing session, you know what it is. You were writing for, we had a show coming up, or we were writing for our podcast, or whatever that is, right? So once you put those 2 things on the receipt, take a picture of it, but take the picture inside Dropbox. So you have one place where all of those expenses are. Because the other problem is, I have people are like, yeah, I took pictures of receipt. I just got to go back through my camera roll and find them. And I'm like, sweet, you got 13,842 photos.
Yep.
So to take the time to go back through your camera roll and find those receipts, and then figure out what the receipts were for and what category, and all of that, it just makes it so much easier to just take the picture inside of Dropbox so that it's there. And then once you get in the habit of taking pictures of your receipts and putting them in Dropbox, there is a worksheet that I offer to a lot of the people that I work with that tells you what the categories are that you can write off.
Mhm.
So, for example, advertising and marketing, all those flyers that you paid for, when you get a logo made, if you got a website and you pay for GoDaddy, you can write that stuff off, right? I have comedians who give away t-shirts and they give away pins and little trinkets and stuff. That is advertising your business, so you can write that off. I'm gonna give you something else that some people don't ever think about. If your normal booking rate, June, was $400 for a 20-minute set, and somebody came to you and said, hey, it's a senior home, we don't really have any money, but we're looking for activity, and if you could just bless us with a 20-minute, whatever, we would love it. I know that there are things like that you and Michele and comedians all over the world do. You just go give your gift, you bless a room, and you don't worry about an honorarium or your fee or anything.
Right.
You can write that off.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Okay.
write off any time you give your gift that you normally make money from. Anytime you give it, you can write that off. All you simply need is a letter from the organization that says, hey, Michele, thank you so much for offering to come and give us 20 minutes of comedy at no cost to us. We appreciate working with you, and we hope that in the future we'll be able to find some money in our whatever it says, but just on the letterhead from the company that confirms that you indeed went to said place and gave said services that normally cost $500 or $800 or whatever your rate is. That is an expense to your business, but it's advertising, it's marketing, it's promotions. Because when you go and give that gift at no cost, then they're going to keep talking about you. They're going to think about how they can bring you back and then pay you, right? That's usually how it works. And so you can write that off as well. But back to the starter, taking pictures inside a Dropbox, right?
Okay.
Have a separate bank account for your comedy money. Separate bank account. And it doesn't have to be a business bank account. It doesn't even have to be a checking account. It could be a savings account that's connected to your regular checking account. But that shows when the IRS comes, because they will, that shows them that, hey, I'm serious about this. This is something that I want to build as a business. It's not just a hobby. I'm not just trying to play around in the IRS system, but I have a separate bank account that when I get paid from my comedy gigs, I deposit that money in there, even if I have to transfer it right back out into my personal account to pay bills or go to the store or whatever. I have a separate account where all my money comes in that I make from my comedy. I have pictures of receipts that I keep in my Dropbox. And I'm trying to create a paper trail for any opportunity that I can. If I go over here and do it for free, can you send me an email? Even whether it's on the letterhead or an email. If somebody emails you from info@christisredeemerchurch.org that says, hey, thanks for the free, the 20 minutes at no cost to us.
Yeah.
You can create a folder in your Gmail and title it receipts and move that whole conversation into that folder. The same way when you go to like Office Depot or Staples or some of those places, they ask you, do you want your receipt printed or emailed? I always email my receipts, and then I just move the email into that folder. So I have tons of emails in that in that receipts folder. Some of them I've never opened, but I know it's because it was from Lowe's or Staples or whatever, and they're all the way back from 2021. So that if I ever need to produce it, it's there.
That's really good. I have in my email box, I have 2025 comedy, 2024 comedy, and I just move anything that's happened in there. So
that's so smart.
I'd have to go back and look at things then. So, but I got them there. But Dropbox. Whew.
Yeah, Dropbox is amazing because you can download that app onto your phone. And so instead of opening up your regular camera to take a picture of that receipt, I open up Dropbox and I go into the folder that is supposed to go in, and you hit upload, and you can turn your camera on in there, and it's in there.
I did this year. I did do that where I just created a separate bank account, like all together from because my husband and I still have a real estate business, and then our personal accounts and all of that. And I will say it not only is it smart to do, it also simplifies things.
Yeah.
So, for example, like the debit card that I have for that account, when I order from Amazon, I never order like household products and a shirt for a show, right? On the same thing.
Right.
I use the personal credit card if I'm ordering from Amazon. And then, so if I know I'm buying show stuff, like I got a new tripod this year, for the different shows. So I'm, rather than my husband and I having to figure out, wait, what was that? And was that shirt just a fun shirt I got for church, or did I get that for Dry Bar? Right? Like, why do I have why do I have this particular thing? And it definitely because I think that what overwhelms people is, especially somebody like me, and you have a ton of comedians who truly are diagnosed with ADHD, who all the moving things gets overwhelming, and so we freeze and we just we're just irresponsible and forget about it. But it really is this it is this mental battle of, if it feels overwhelming, then we shut down. And by having that separate bank account, I feel like I can see better what's coming in and out without it getting mixed into all of our personal stuff. And I love that you brought up I remember Rick Roberts. He's somebody who was part of the CCA and taught comedy classes for a long time. And he did a business, kind of the business of comedy type of class one time. And he talked about doing that maybe, he's a $2,000 a gig comic, right? And he would just let kind of the Lord lead him, but he would be like, I could donate $1,000 of my time to them.
Yes.
And but I felt like and this has been years since I heard him talk about that, but I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But I feel like he may have mentioned maybe getting a donation form from them, or they acknowledge that he donated X amount of time, or product, t-shirt, whatever. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I know a lot of comics been in the industry for a long time that don't know that they don't realize that they can actually write that off. So I love that you brought that up. But let's talk about wardrobe really quick, because I brought up ordering a shirt from Amazon, right? Yeah. And this is another thing, because I've had people go, oh, you can write off your makeup, you can write off your shoes, you can write off but can you? And what is the stipulation of writing off this shirt? Because it's not just all willy-nilly. I can go to TJ Maxx, get my summer wardrobe, right? Or how does that work?
Yeah, you're right. Wardrobe is something that has changed because of that reason, right? People are like, oh, I need a new shirt, and so I'm gonna write it off. Wardrobe. In order to write wardrobe off, there's a couple things that have to be present. Number one, you can write it off with no questions asked if it has your business logo on it. So we just got new t-shirts for all of our team. It's got our logo. It's clearly for business. No questions asked. It's a write-off. If it is a unique piece that you absolutely need for your business, you can write it off. Basically, you can't use it or wear it anywhere else for anything else other than your business. So like I have some cosmetology friends who like doing hair in scrubs. They wear nursing scrubs to work. Well, I can't wear that Sunday morning to church. I'm not going to go meet friends for dinner wearing my scrubs. I can 100% write that off as wardrobe. Where it gets tricky is if you go buy a suit because there's an award show and you know, Donald wants to wear a new suit or a new suit jacket or whatever,
Mhm.
but he can also wear that suit jacket to church on Sunday, to dinner with friends, to another thing, then that's where wardrobe becomes tricky, because then it's not that you're buying it for the business, because you have general use ability with that wardrobe. So if it is, however, wardrobe that you would never wear, but you've bought it for an event or something specific in regards to the business, but it is not something that you would ever wear again. Like if I buy a gown that is Kentucky Derby theme, and we have to go and conduct Kentucky Derby theme type gala, but I would never attend the gala, Kentucky Derby, nor have I ever attended the Derby, and it's not my thing, then I can use that as my substantiation that this is solely wardrobe.
Mhm.
So you have to have you have to, and that really is more about your professional. Okay, you got to get a tax professional that you can build a rapport with, that you can explain your brand to, that you can share the norms of your business, and they can help you build the case based on who you are,
Yeah.
not well, it's a suit, so you can't write it off. Well, I mean, it is a suit, but I never wear suits. You know what I mean? I only wore it, or I only bought it for this thing. I will never wear it on Sunday morning. We don't wear suits to my church. I'll never wear it to, you know what I mean? And so when
Yeah.
you have a professional that understands who you are as a person and the elements of your business, then they can help you build the case, so that when the IRS comes, they've already helped you put things in place so that you can write off what is 100% absolutely wardrobe for your business. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let me ask you this. So let's say, you know, I've got a fall tour coming up. And so I purchase 4 pairs of jeans, 5 shirts that are all kind of interchangeable, so that when I'm on the road, I can just switch these things out. But I may wear these jeans at the Atlanta show, and I'm going to wear them again in Virginia.
Yep.
Is that still okay to write that thing off, as long as that's not jeans you're going to catch me on the street in? Or like, can I use the same item multiple times
Yep.
if it's for, let's say, a particular tour? And because like literally right now I'm trying to simplify my wardrobe for when I travel, so that
Yep.
I have just these 4 pairs of jeans. And then, you know, I found a style shirt recently that I really like, and I'm like, I want to purchase 4 of those in different prints, and just let that be that, so that it's less clutter for me in my mind when I go to pack to do these particular shows.
Yep.
And then if that's the case, when I'm done with it, because it makes me think about, I mean, I have some friends who do some pretty big stuff. And I remember thinking how crazy it was that like they give these things to Goodwill, or they, you know, whatever, they donate this stuff afterwards. And I'm like, that's crazy. It was such a cool dress. It makes sense now. If they're writing that off, what can you do? Can I just donate that afterwards to somebody else? And that's that?
You can, and get a donation letter from Goodwill. You absolutely can. The other thing, June, as you were talking, I'm thinking of a case that I remember. There was a performer who had like uniform. Basically, they performed in these 3 or 4 things. They got them cleaned. They packed them in a bag, and that was what they took everywhere they went. Right, just this particular. And it was stuff that they could probably wear on a everyday basis if they wanted to, but they didn't. But what that tax professional had them do was take a picture of the bag with the garments, the bag packed, and then they could go to their social media and show, hey, look, I was in Virginia. See, this is the shirt. Hey, I was in Maryland. See, this is the shirt. It's about building a story. It's not just the tax or the write-off or the receipt. It's about building a story, right? And so when your social media can prove what your numbers say, that can prove what the receipt says, that can prove what's in your email, it's the story.
Mhm.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you another example. I had a client. Nope, I take that back. I wanted to take my kids to Virginia Beach and Myrtle Beach. We want to go to Myrtle Beach, but I wanted it to be a tax write-off. I'm trying to figure out how I can make this a business trip. I want to go take my kids. What I know to be true is that a business trip, more of the days have to include business activity than not. So if I'm gone for 5 days, my travel to the location and my travel home are automatically business days. Okay, the whole day. And then of the remaining days, the majority of those days have to include business activity in order for the entire trip. So I'm like, okay, I want to be gone for 5 days. I already know the 2 days, me traveling there and back, are covered. What do I need to do in these 2 days so that my whole trip is a business trip? Well, the IRS also says 4 hours worth of business activity. For my business, that looks different than what it looks like in comedy. You could do a 4-hour writing session or two, a 2-hour writing session and a 2-hour podcast episodes or whatever, right? For me, I knew that it had to be involve tax and tax prep and all those things. So I put a post on social media and said, I need to come to the Virginia area. Who lives there? Who do I know that lives there? And a girl inboxed me and said, she said, it's ironic that you posted that because I wanted you to do my taxes this year, but I have so much stuff. I don't know what I need to upload. I don't know what you don't need. And I said, don't worry about it. I'll come get it. So I sent her an email and said, hey, I'm excited to serve you this year for your taxes. I understand you have a lot of documentation. And so I will plan to travel to you. We can sit and have dinner. We can go through your receipts. I can give you these workshops or worksheets, and then I can prepare your taxes. And I did just that. In every piece of conversation that we had it via email in this same thread. Find us a restaurant. Here's where I'm going to be staying. Find somewhere in the area where we can sit. I'll pay for your meal. We can go over some things, and we can take it from there. So she texted me and said, hey, I think we can meet at da-da-da-da-da. And my response to her was, email me. Okay, because I'm building a story here.
Yeah.
So she emails me and says, hey, this is where we can meet. This is what we can do. Da, 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 da. We got to the restaurant. I drove out there. We got to the restaurant. And she had a lot of paperwork. And I looked through everything. I bought her food. I think she had a kid. And then guess what else we did? Come on, take a picture.
Okay.
On Instagram, hey, got the opportunity to meet my client in Virginia. So excited to meet her first time. My social media is telling the story of my business trip, right? All my receipts tell the story of my business trip. That whole email thread where we talked about what she needed and what I didn't need and where we were going to meet and the timeline, all of that, it told the story. So it's not just about, can I write this off or can I not write it off? What's the story that you can tell? And how can you tell the story so that when the IRS comes and asks a question like, hey, you wrote off $433 in wardrobe, you can say, yeah, I have this set wardrobe that I only wear on tour that is easy, to navigate. I can take 2 pairs of shoes. I can pack it all in this one bag, and I got proof. Here's my travel bag. And you got a picture of the bag with the clothes in it. You got a picture of yourself on social media holding said bag, like, hey guys, we're about to go on tour. You got pictures on social media with you in those shirts and outfits on stage. The story is sold. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I guess that also in the opposite tip, it can tell a opposite story.
It can.
So if I do have this and I've written this thing off, and then it's like, oh wow, well, this is you on Mother's Day wearing that dress, and this is you on with your girlfriends in Florida having a margarita wearing that dress.
Yeah,
It can tell the opposite story, right?
Yeah. So specifically with wardrobe, you're absolutely right. If you're saying I only use this for stage, then you better make sure that if you don't wear it on stage, nobody should be able to prove that you wear it otherwhere or otherwise, right? So so you just got to be it's an integrity thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Where yeah, I can write this stuff off, and yes, I could wear it other places, but if I'm saying that this is part of my wardrobe, then let's just keep it as part of wardrobe. And it's a rotating wardrobe of shirts that I wear when I'm on stage, and when I'm done wearing it on stage, then I donate it and we move on to something else. And so yeah, it definitely will tell the story. It'll tell on you as well. So
And so for example, so I bought this shirt, Kentucky Comedy Festival. It was a blue shirt. The whole vibe was blue, you know, whatever. So if I wrote that off for the Kentucky Comedy Festival, then but I still could wear it on my podcast because that's comedy related.
Absolutely.
I could still do reels that are comedy related.
Absolutely.
If I'm doing promotion for my book or something of that nature, that's still fine.
Absolutely.
We just can't be rocking that. I mean, you know, okay, so I love a good wardrobe conversation. And obviously I've had you on this for a little while.
No, you're fine. You go meet Michele for lunch with the shirt on, it's comedy related. You go take a trip and have a writing session, it's comedy related. Yeah. If it's related to the comedy, then yeah. And there are ways to make everything related to the comedy. It's just about the story that you tell. It literally is about the story that you tell.
I'm about to get back into embroidery. My business was a uniform company and I had an embroidery machine. I'm about to just get the Junebug comedy logo because I love that you said if it has the logo on it, that's not even an issue. And I have my logo is a little like ladybug. And I could just ladybug up I like Laverne and Shirley, like the L on it. Everywhere you see me, I'm gonna have the little ladybug with the Junebug comedy on it. We can do that. Michele, okay, other than wardrobe, do you have more questions for Kimberly? We could keep her forever, I know.
I had one earlier. So when you were talking about having the organization write you a thank you note or whatever, can it also be the opposite way where you're sending like what you would normally send, like an invoice, right? You're like, but then you would write on their fee waived. Does that count, or does it have to say fee donated? You know what I mean? Like, is there?
Yeah, I mean, you could, but what would be better is the organization confirming that you did that, because we could create invoices for anything. And say we can create an invoice and say anything.
Yeah.
But what would really substantiate that donation is if the organization
initiated the thing.
Yeah. Even if you initiated the email and said, hey, I know you don't know me, or maybe you do know me and you wanted to book me but didn't have the money, but I'll donate my services, you know, blah, blah, blah. And if they respond to that email and say, hey, that would be great, we would love to have you, here's the date and time, that's substantiation. That says, you know, you're coming and giving $1,000 worth of services at no cost to us. It doesn't matter who initiated the transaction, but what would be the best substantiation of that donation, it has to come from the organization or that says you did in fact do that thing, you know?
Okay. All right. And then the other thing, when you talked about, you know, taking a business trip, what if you planned the business, like you traveled on a Friday, you had the weekend, but then you actually did business on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then traveled again on Thursday? You know what I mean? Like
that
wouldn't
is
that give you more but would the weekend then be no business, because typically business is Monday through Friday?
Not true.
Except as comedians, it'd be different.
Not true.
No.
The IRS says that if you have business that you have to attend to on a Friday and a Monday, and it is more financially economical for you to stay over the weekend to conduct the business, then everything during the weekend is part of the business trip.
Okay. So it has to be a financial thing where it's doing okay. All right.
So here's the thing. If you how are you traveling? Are you driving? Are you flying?
Always driving.
Okay. If it is more economical for you to drive on Friday for the business on Monday versus driving on Sunday for the business on Monday, or if you got then everything Friday, Saturday, Sunday is part of the business trip. If you're flying and you're like, hey, the rates are cheaper to fly on a Friday versus flying on a Sunday for this business on Monday, then the activities on Saturday, Sunday are included in the business trip.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
of it.
two quick questions before we let you go and promote, because we can keep you forever. Two things, because this happens a lot in especially the Christian comedy industry. Is the first one is love offering. What's your take on them taking up a bowl of cash money and handing you this cash?
Yep.
And then the other is filing taxes. I'm not doing all my comedy in Kentucky. So what does that look like when your husband Donald, when you do your business, Donald does his business, and you guys are going to these other places, and you're getting paid in Virginia, and you're getting paid in Kentucky, and you're getting paid in how does that work as far as filing the taxes in regards to getting income from different states?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm
love offering.
trying to think the simplest way to answer that second question. Okay, love offering. When you get cash for any gig, whether it's a love offering, whether it's I have an envelope right here. So we had a show this weekend, and we had like little random like little trinkets that we had that people could give donations. We had raffle tickets, we had all these things. So we got all this cash, right? And what most of my creative friends do is they say, oh, okay, well, let's just take $100 from here and go pay the light bill. Let's go to the gas station. Here, go put gas in the car. Here, go. You cannot do that. Okay. What is best for you is to take this money, as we're going to do, and you got to go put it in that bank account. Okay. Even if you put it in a bank account and take it right back out, you got to put it in that bank account. And here's the two reasons why. Number one, you'll never be able to figure out how much money you've made in a year if the money never touches something. When you get your bank statements every month, it'll tell you how much in deposits you had and how much in withdrawals that you had. So if you did nothing more than just kept the bank statements that showed I deposited $500 in January and $1,100 in February and $700 in March, you have a better idea of how much income you made as a comedian, because it all hits that account. Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing is, bring this back to me. It has to hit the bank. Oh, because when you report that income on your taxes, how will you know that you made $1,100 in February if you take the cash and then turn around and use it immediately and it never hits that account? You have to be able to accurately report every dollar that you've made in your craft. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I feel like I had something else to say about these love offerings, and it'll probably come back to me. But the second thing about state taxes, that's so tricky because every state has different rules, right? And there's some states who don't have state tax. There's like 11 states that don't even have state tax. So if you have a gig in Texas don't care nothing about state tax. Or Florida, Tennessee, I think, is another one. And so tracking your income and where you make that money from is another reason why it's important, because in some states, they don't care. If you're not a resident, they don't care. They don't have state tax. But then in other instances, state taxes, you have to make like $5,000 or more for it to even be an issue in regards to state tax. In other states, if you make $1 in our state, we want our 12% of that dollar. Yeah. So I have some free resources that I can offer to any comedian that's getting started in regards to tracking. I have a calendar template that you literally can just write where the gig was, to help you keep track of mileage, to help you keep track of income in whatever state that was. I also have a worksheet, again, that helps you to be able to keep track of your expenses in certain categories. There's also some strategies that most people don't even realize they can use, like having a home office. June, I see that you are, I don't know if you're in the living room or if in your
This is the dedicated space. This is my office. Yep.
Yes, there's so much you can write off when you have a dedicated space that you use for your comedy, whether it's being on podcast, or if that's where you sit and write, or if that's where you do all your bookings and your contracts and all of those things. Money left on the table that people don't realize, that because you have a dedicated space, now there's a portion of my mortgage, a portion of my rent, a portion of all of the expenses for my home that I now get to write off because of that dedicated space. And so that calendar template, the worksheet, with those strategies on it, there's a couple other free resources that I have as well.
And do they find that at the KimberlyJanelle.com? Is that where they're?
You know what? They actually are on my Stand store, where my workbook is, that I just created. So I just created this platform. It's called the Tax and Wealth Hub for Entrepreneurs. And it's really just to lay out a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about. How do I keep track of this stuff? How do I get started? What do I need to do in regards to my receipts? And so I have a playbook, and it's a 3-volume playbook that I'm creating. But this first volume is got a lot of that beginner intro information. And I think I do really well with making these challenging topics bite-sized and understandable, digestible, right? And so on that, where the link for the playbook, there's also those free resources, that calendar template, those worksheets, all of that is there too. I think I put it on my website, but if I didn't, if somebody emails me, Kimberly at KimberlyJanelle.com, or you inbox me at any of the platforms that I'm on, I will make sure that you get those resources.
That's awesome. Yeah. So this, the one resource, $27 is what you're offering that. And as I said before, I went down a trail with the IRS when I was doing everything right, checking all the boxes, and still ended up in a financially painful of having to deal with the IRS. And for $27 to be able to just educate yourself. And like you said, I think that, listening to you talk at the conference this year, it was digestible. It wasn't overwhelming. It didn't like freak me out. It was like, oh wow. It's just eye-opening information that you shared so generously with the Christian comedy community. So I want to thank you again for coming out, pouring into us there, doing that for us here. And again, friends, we definitely want you to check out Kimberly Janelle. Michele, if you're watching the YouTube channel, you can see all of her social medias and things scrolling across the bottom of the screen. On Instagram, it's the Kimberly Janelle. Facebook, you can find her at Kimberly Janelle Martin. Again, she has that Stand store. Michele is going to put that link. It's the Entrepreneur's Tax Playbook. She's going to put that link in to the show notes, and so you guys can go on there and find that information. I literally have like 40 more questions I could ask you, because the more you learn, the more your eyes are open, and the more you're like, oh, wait a minute. But I do think, guys,
we can do this as often as we need to and get those questions answered. Yeah, anytime you want to.
Yeah, how bad do you want to come to Kentucky? We can plan a tax write-off trip where we go to dinner. Maybe we'll shop for my comedy wardrobe, because you're so multi-talented between the modeling and okay, Michele, I said, don't let me forget. Because that's also a pet peeve of mine, is when someone says, don't let me forget, because no one should have to babysit someone else's brain. Like, I'm not babysitting your brain. You don't have to babysit mine.
I'm a brain babysitter. What?
What, Michele? Kimberly ended up on the other side of the mic not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly is funny. She is a creative. She is talented. But Kimberly, you did a comedy set. You've been, tell us about that really quick, what that experience was like, because we know your laugh support. I know Donald went nuts getting to see you flip the script, right? And do that role. So what was that like? And are you going to keep doing it?
It was different. I am what's funny is I am the funny friend in my friend group. I've always been the funny girl, and Donald he finally got to see that side of me, because we, as we've gotten closer and peeling back layers of ourselves, and it wasn't long in our relationship that he was like, you kind of funny. I said, I am. And he had been talking about it. You should host. I'm like, no. Well, we had one show where we had got booked, our company had got booked, and Donald was going to be the headliner. Donald usually hosts, and Donald was going to be the headliner, and he said we need a host for the show. And without thinking, I volunteered myself. I could do it. He was like, really? And I'm thinking to myself, really, Kim? Did you just you just say that out loud? But I did. I hosted a show in June, and it was great. One of the comedians on the show, you guys know him, Josiah. He was one of the for the show. And as I was saying some of my jokes, at one of my jokes, he spit his water out, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. It was great. But for our shows, I typically open up the show anyway before I hand it over to Donald when he hosts. And people have been saying, like, man, you guys are funny, like you should do something together. And I'm like, nah. But I'll be honest, I love it. I do. I love it. I love making people laugh and pulling stuff off the cuff, and so I'll definitely be on the microphone a little more in the future.
That's awesome. Tell us about your comedy really quick. Where can they find you and Donald in this People Rich comedy? And I know Anderson, Indiana, you guys have got some big stuff going on in that area. So really quick, tell us about that so they can catch you doing that as well.
Yes. Our company, People Rich Comedy, you can find us on the website, peoplerichcomedy.com. You can find a lot of our stuff on Donald Martin's personal page. We had a comedy page when we first started, and my pages got hacked, so our People Rich page got hacked as well. But I'm going to spend time this week. I think I'm brave enough to try it again. It's horrible. It's horrible. But our website is up and going. So peoplerichcomedy.com. You can definitely find us there. I will be building out our YouTube channel and our Instagram and Facebook pages this week. But you can definitely see all of our stuff on either one of our personal platforms for right now. But our website is up and ready and thriving. Our last show for the year is going to be in October. It is Donald's 50th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, October 15th is his birthday. And so for the weekend prior, we're going to have a big birthday party for him that Saturday night. And then we're going to do a birthday show that Sunday. And we will be having Bernard Hines. He's going to be our headliner that weekend. And then I have not quite confirmed this, but I think if I just keep putting it out there, then it has to happen. But Willie Brown and Woody and Woody
Nice.
and friends. Yeah, I'm hoping that we talked about it at the convention, him hosting for that show. So I'm hoping that we solidify that. But either way, it's gonna be a great show. So
So you're saying that his birthday is the 15th of October?
Yep.
And you're gonna do the show the Saturday before?
The Sunday before.
The
Yep.
Sunday, the 12th. I will be in Indiana on the 9th. Just
Come
gotta put that
on!
out.
So you gotta stay for the weekend,
Just
Michele.
saying.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and if you stay for the weekend, you write it off. That's right.
Right off. Yes. Networking, business mingle, all of that. Yeah. You got to be here.
That would be
And
awesome.
do I get dinner?
Michele, I'm gonna, you know, definitely jump on, right? I don't know about you, and check out all of the tax information that Kimberly has given us. I've taken so many notes today. I'm just so super excited that you came. And I can't wait to just learn more to get that tax playbook and just really just do something better for myself, my business, and even for my family by being more mindful of the tips and the things that you've given us. Michele, any closing remarks before you kick Kimberly to the back with all the green room snacks?
Yes, I was going to say, $27 to set yourself up correctly, I think, is a way better deal than hodgepodging things around and it costing you way more than $27. I was just gonna say, go ahead and get this book because yeah, it's worth it. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm saying.
And it's a write-off.
Yep. Oh,
that's right.
And
it's a write-up. It's a resource and it's a write-up. Well, Kimberly, we're going to send you to the back. Thank you so much for being on the Laugh Support podcast today and being so supportive of the comedians, creatives, and people in our community. You are a blessing, and we are so grateful to have had you on the show today.
Thank you, ladies, and I can't wait for the next invitation. I'll be back whenever you have me.
Yes, ma'am. Awesome. All right, Michele. I mean, what a great episode. What an absolutely just powerful episode of the podcast today. I'm super excited, and it does inspire me to want to do better and be better in this area. So I'm glad that we had her on. So all right. So let's do the tip of the day really quick. We've had so many tips. I don't know why I'm even bothering with the tip of the week. One day I'll get it. Tip of the week. Okay, the tip of the week. I don't even remember what it was. Set a goal. Okay. So, my husband and I were just talking about with my brain, I take a to-do list and I write 10,000 things on it. And then I end up at the end of the day, not accomplishing anything on it and being just so frustrated and defeated by the end of the day. And so today I just encourage you, set an attainable goal. Maybe not for the day, but maybe for the week, right? So, it's Wednesday. Find an attainable goal, something that would make you feel better if you finish it. As our friend Dory would say, what would your future self be glad that you did, right? What would future June be glad that I checked off my list this week? Set that goal, that attainable goal, so that it creates momentum for you to do the bigger and the better goals. So that's my tip of the week. And I say set the goal of going on, Kimberly's website, going on and purchasing this tax playbook. That would be a really good goal to get started on just being wiser about taxes and your tax information. Okay, Michele, are you giving us a closing joke today?
Well, yeah, but I was going to say, our listeners are listening to this on a Thursday, unless they're tuning in on a Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So on a Thursday, you know what? Because of the our guest. So I found this joke from fourth grader AJ. He sent this in. It was, why did Mary throw her money out the window?
Oh, Mary. Why did Mary? Because she was bugging. You don't know that song, do you?
No.
Why did Mary throw her money out the window?
She wanted to see a change in the weather. Ching, 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 change. It was the change part. It was the money part. That's it.
I get it. I get it. And our sweet friend who gave us that joke, great job. Great job. Okay, so that's it for this episode of the Laugh Support Podcast. As I always say, Jesus and Junebug loves you. Michele, tell them goodbye.
Goodbye. Make sure you go ahead and follow. You can follow me on all the socials, Michele VanDusen or Michelle's Comedy, and you can also follow June Bug Comedy and June Bug. Just find her, follow her, all the good things. You guys, thank you for listening, and see you later.